Okay, so starting off the last segment of today's show, it is time for the Week 11 NFL picks, and we have so many really good games to go over this week in the NFL. So without further ado, let's do it. We'll start it off Thursday Night Football. We have the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks in a divisional battle, and both of these teams right now stand in the NFC West with a record of 6-3, and I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks to win this game. And Russell Wilson hit the slide in the MVP campaign started against the Arizona Cardinals, where Vance Joseph did a really good job forcing Russell Wilson into many bad decisions throughout the game. And I feel like with Chris Carson being back, hopefully, that's going to help the running game, and it's getting much healthier in total, and I do think Russell Wilson is too good, and the Seahawks have too much big game experience to lose a game that they really need to win at home against an Arizona Cardinal defense that is super banged up. And I love Kyler Murray. I think he's a phenomenal player, and the future for him in this league is, the sky's the limit. But at the same time, going on the road to Seattle in a tough environment in a game the Seattle Seahawks really need, I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks to win. Their defense wasn't great last week against the Rams, but it was better than they've ever been. And I feel like if you're the Seattle Seahawks right now, you're trying to get from like the 32nd best defense in the league to, I would say, the 20th best defense in the league, because right now, the way the Seattle Seahawks defense has been playing over the last couple weeks, I don't think you could look at them as a legitimate playoff contender. The next 1 o'clock game, how about the Washington football team? They've been struggling a little bit lately. They're sitting with a record of 2-7. They will be at home against Joe Exotic and the Cincinnati Bengals. And after a hot start, Chase Young has only 1 sack and 1 other quarterback hit in his last 6 games, and Montez Sweat has been better, but the Washington pass rush has slowed down in recent weeks. And if that trend continues, I do think Joe Burrow is going to do enough to outscore Alex Smith. I just think the Bengals have the more dynamic offense, and they're at home. So with that being said, I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals to win this game over the Washington football team. I expect a bounce-back effort from them after just a bad performance last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And even though the Cincinnati Bengals right now, their record says they are 2-6-1, I do think that they are a better football team than that. They're a better team than their record says. And after one bad game, I don't expect that to continue for Joe Burrow. So I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals to win on Sunday in Washington against the football team. Let's go to the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, and we have the Saints and the Falcons. And this matchup is trouble for the Saints in past years. The Saints rarely sweep the Falcons, and that's when they are rolling with Drew Brees. And in this game, we've spoke about it a lot on this show. They're going to have Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill at quarterback splitting work. And that didn't inspire much confidence from many people across the NFL. But I'm going to pick the New Orleans Saints to win this game. I trust Sean Payton, and I trust the idea that he's going to have a plan for his quarterbacks with a week to prepare against a division rival. I'm going to look for the Saints defense to close this one out ultimately, and there are a ton lingering on the injuries for both sides. However, I'm much more confident that the Falcons are going to keep this closer than a lot of people expect, but I'm going to pick the Saints to win. I do think it's going to be a close game. I do think Jameis Winston is going to be able to make enough plays for his team down the stretch, and that is what's going to put the Falcons to lose to the Saints. I do think Jameis Winston is very dynamic for a backup quarterback. That's something that not a lot of people, I think, are talking about when they're looking at Jameis Winston and what he's done throughout his career. I think he's going to be a guy that really is going to try to take advantage of this opportunity that he's getting here, playing with all of these weapons. And if the Saints beat the Falcons twice, I do feel very confident about their ability to win the NFC South. How about the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Pittsburgh Steelers? Jacksonville's been really struggling lately. Even though they were very competitive last week against the Green Bay Packers, they are sitting with a record of 1-8, and they will be heading to they're going to be heading home to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are sitting at 9-0. And I do think the Jaguars defense has been better since their bye, and they're getting special contributions from guys like Sidney Jones and Davon Hamilton, two guys that going into the season, I don't think there were a lot of Jaguar fans that were necessarily expecting for those guys to all of a sudden be playing so well. And the Jaguars' offense is undeniably worse with Jake Luton at quarterback, which gives them not a lot of hope against TJ Watt, who, in my opinion, is going to be the defensive player of the year. He is phenomenal. And Jake Luton, he's a big quarterback with a big arm. And James Robinson recently has done a nice job running the ball. I do think the Jaguars cover and keep this close. This has the makings of another Mike Tomlin game going on the road against a team that Pittsburgh is just much better than. I would love to see Pittsburgh just step on the gas and really try to prove a point in this game to the Jacksonville Jaguars. But at the same time, I'm not 100% sure that I see that happening. So I think Pittsburgh wins, but it's going to be a little bit closer than most people expect. I'll say by like a touchdown, maybe 10 points. I like Pittsburgh to beat Jacksonville. How about the New England Patriots and the Houston Texans? And the Texans rank dead last in run defense and turnovers forced, which is a bad recipe against a New England Patriot team that very quietly has been playing some very good football. And I do think a lot of people saw what they were able to do against the Baltimore Ravens, and the Patriots also didn't turn the ball over and didn't need to throw much during their 2-game winning streak. They should be able to replicate that in this game against the Houston Texans because they cannot stop the run at all. I don't trust Deshaun Watson in this spot, just with the situation he's in against the Bill Belichick defense. Usually I do trust Deshaun, and he's been playing very good football for a quarterback of a team that just isn't very good. I do believe, we talk about it all the time on this show, that what the Houston Texans organization has done to Deshaun Watson is just not very good, and I do think they need to treat him better and give him more help. Ultimately, I'm not sure if I could see them beating the New England Patriots even at home. Bill Belichick and Romeo Crennel do have a lot of history going up against each other, coaching together on that same New England Patriot staff, along with Bill O'Brien, who is no longer in Houston, obviously. But yeah, I'm going to pick the Patriots to win this game. I was very impressed with what they did last week against the Ravens. How about the Cleveland Browns and the Philadelphia Eagles? And Carson Wentz just played one of his better games of the season with the most healthy teammates he's had around him since week 1 in a 10-point loss to the Giants. I'm going to predict the Philadelphia Eagles to go on the road and upset the Cleveland Browns. I cannot see the Philadelphia Eagles defense playing as bad as they did on Sunday against the Giants here in this game against Cleveland. And if you watch the Cleveland Browns, I give them a lot of credit for being this good. I think Kevin Stefanski has done a really good job this season, and he deserves to be in that Coach of the Year conversation. But at the same time, if you watch a Browns game, they're just terrified to let Baker Mayfield throw the ball down the field and make a mistake that could cost them the game. And I feel like in this spot against Philadelphia, that isn't going to serve Cleveland well, just because their defense, or Philadelphia's defense, is a defense that could get beat at any time. If Philadelphia stops the run and Carson Wentz could just not turn the ball over and play okay, I do think the Eagles are going to win this game, and I'm going to predict them to go on the road to Cleveland and get the job done. And I know I've been on this Eagle bandwagon the whole season, and for the most part, they have disappointed me. But right now, they're still in first place, and I do think if they could go on the road and get this kind of win against a very good Cleveland Browns team, that could be something that maybe, if you're a Philadelphia Eagle fan, could turn their season around. How about the Carolina Panthers being at home against the Detroit Lions? And Matthew Stafford and Teddy Bridgewater are both facing injury questions, and this prediction could change before game time depending on the updates if both quarterbacks do suit up. And if they do, these two teams are both pretty similar with defenses that struggle to get off the field, and I really like the way DeAndre Swift has been playing over the last couple weeks. But the bottom line is this: Carolina's at home, and Matt Rule or Matt Patricia, who am I taking? It's Matt Rule. It's not even close. I still don't know how exactly Matt Patricia is the head coach of the Detroit Lions. And I'll tell you this: if the Lions could somehow win this game, very quietly, they're going to be sitting with a record of 5-5. And I think we all agree, I don't think the Detroit Lions are a playoff team or anything. But at the same time, this is a big game for them, because if they could somehow, some way go on the road, which will be tough, and win, then maybe this could be the win that turns Matt Patricia and his coaching tenure around. But at the same time, I just can't buy that. I really don't like the brand of football the Detroit Lions are playing right now. And yeah, I'm going to take Carolina to win over Detroit. How about the next 1 o'clock game? This is going to be a really good one. The Baltimore Ravens, they're sitting in the AFC North with a record of 6-3, and they will be taking on the Tennessee Titans at home in a rematch of the playoff game that these two teams played last year. And I think if you compare this game to that playoff game, the more closely you look at it, the less that playoff game means. Because, to be honest, the Tennessee Titans defense is not good. And the Ravens suddenly couldn't run up the middle or set the edge on defense, two things that in 2019 they did really well. The Titans are well constructed to take advantage of both weaknesses, but I just think this is a game the Ravens really need. They're at home. They're going to be ready to play considering what happened in the playoffs last year and what happened to them against the New England Patriots. That was a game I believe they should have won, and they're a better team than the New England Patriots, but unfortunately, Lamar Jackson and the offense has really been struggling. Baltimore has been losing a lot of pieces around Lamar as well. I mean, losing Nick Boyle, I think that's a killer. That's a guy that is one of the better blocking tight ends in the league. So it's very unfortunate to lose him, but at the same time, I don't love the way the Tennessee Titans are playing right now, so I will take the Ravens. Okay, so continuing with the NFL picks, how about the 4 o'clock games? And we will start with a battle between the Los Angeles Chargers and the New York Jets. And the question is, could this be the first week that the New York Jets win a football game this season? They're going to be on the road, sitting here with a record of 0-9, taking on the 2-7 Los Angeles Chargers, coming up a couple losses to the Raiders and to the Dolphins. And I'm going to take the Chargers to win this game, but a couple things. The only reason why I'm taking the Chargers to win this game is because you guys know the New York Jets are just not a very good football team right now. I think we could all agree on that. But there are a couple signals that aren't going to make me change my pick, but that do make me a little worried about this game from a Chargers perspective. Number one, we talk about it every week. If there's a coach that, I'm not going to say Anthony Lynn is as bad as Adam Gase, because Adam Gase could never get the Jets in a close game to begin with, besides that one game a couple Monday nights ago against the New England Patriots. But at the same time, Anthony Lynn, if you watch the Chargers and their game plan for their game against Miami the other day, that was just an absolute disgrace. They were running the ball each and every play when they were already down. And to be honest, if I was a Los Angeles Charger fan, I really just would not be happy with the way this coaching staff has been going at it as of late, and I don't think they're putting Justin Herbert in the best position to succeed when Anthony Lynn is their head coach. Now, ultimately, the question is going to be, is Dean Spanos, the owner of the Chargers, who historically has been a guy that doesn't always love to spend all of the big-time money in the world, I'm curious to see what exactly he does by bringing in a head coach, and if he does or not. And then also, Justin Herbert in that haircut. I really don't understand what that was about. He was so good with that flow. So with that being said, I'm going to take the Chargers to win, but I really would not be shocked if the Jets get the job done at all. How about the Miami Dolphins? The hottest team in football, some may argue. They are sitting with a record of 6-3, have won a couple games in a row. They will be heading on the road to Denver to take on the Broncos. And the thing is, the Dolphins every week have an edge in coaching, an edge in special teams, an edge in turnover margin, and an edge in third down defense. All of these things are not about luck, and I do think in a matchup like this week against the Denver Broncos, they're all going to come in handy for the Miami Dolphins, because the more Drew Lock plays, the more obvious it is to me that the Broncos offense doesn't look that much better with him at the helm than it did with Jeff Driscoll or Paxton Lynch or Trevor Siemian. John Elway needs to realize that now is the time for him to find a quarterback, and I would love to see Tua just go in there and throw the ball around a little bit on Denver. Now, I'm curious to see what exactly Vic Fangio does in terms of a scheme and a game plan to defend Tua Tagovailoa, because I think we could all agree Vic Fangio is not a good NFL head coach. I am willing to say that. He's not good. But at the same time, he is a very good defensive coordinator that knows how to get pressure on the quarterback. So if I'm Vic Fangio, that's what I'm trying to do. I think the only way the Broncos have a legitimate shot to win this game is if they just really force the pressure on Tua and force him into mistakes. If I'm Brian Flores, I'm really trying to tell my quarterback, look, relax, take a deep breath. You don't have to win us the game on one play. We got it covered. Just play your brand of football, make the throws you know how to make, don't turn the ball over, and ultimately I think that would put the Dolphins in a pretty good position to win a game like this. So I will take Miami. I've been taking them over the last couple weeks. They've been really, really good to me. So I'm going to take the Dolphins to get the win there. And then how about the Cowboys and the Vikings? The Cowboys defense played its best 2 games of the season before the bye last week. Peak DeMarcus Lawrence, joined by 2018 Randy Gregory, 2018 Leighton Vander Esch, and this kid Neville Gallimore is looking really good on the defensive end of the ball for the Cowboys. All of that and the return of Andy Dalton should help the Cowboys lose closer games against quality opponents as opposed to getting blown out. And I do think the way the Minnesota Vikings are playing as of late, I do think they're a quality football team. What Mike Zimmer has and Rick Spielman have done literally rebuilding this team overnight, because if you remember in the offseason, the Vikings are out here trading Stephon Diggs, drafting Justin Jefferson, who looks like an awesome pick for them, and then they also got Yannick Ngakoue, then traded him to the Baltimore Ravens. So the Minnesota Vikings in the front office have been doing a lot of moving and wheeling and dealing, I should say. And I think Rick Spielman deserves credit for the job he's done in leading the Minnesota Vikings front office. And with that being said, I'm going to predict them to get the win here over the Dallas Cowboys. I do think with Andy Dalton back, it will be close. But at the same time, I just don't know how you could bet against the Minnesota Vikings right now, especially when they are playing a team like the Dallas Cowboys, who has been not very good over the last couple weeks. So I'll take Minnesota to win that one. How about the Sunday 4:25 game? The Indianapolis Colts, they will be at home playing some really good football, sitting with a record of 6-3. And the Colts do have one of the better defenses in the league over the last couple weeks. They will be taking on the Green Bay Packers, who are sitting with a record of 7-2. And in a wide open NFC, there are a lot of people, I feel like, that are starting to hop back on this Green Bay Packers bandwagon, especially over the last couple weeks, how the Bucs have looked, how the Seahawks have looked in their defense. But I'm actually going to take the Indianapolis Colts to win this game. And I trust the Colts team if it could protect Philip Rivers, which I think they can. And I don't trust the Packers defense to rush the passer, as Zadarius Smith and Kenny Clark and Preston Smith have not been as good as they were last year so far. The health status of the Green Bay Packers corners close to game time could maybe differ my pick a bit, but I feel like this is going to be easily the toughest defense Aaron Rodgers has faced since the Green Bay Packers took that just horrible, embarrassing loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So with that being said, I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts to win this game behind their defense, the way it's been playing as of late, and they're legitimately one of the 3 best defenses in the league. I think it will be sooner rather than later until Matt Eberflus finds out that he's going to be the head coach of an NFL team, and what he's been able to do along with Frank Reich so far this season. I mean, keep in mind, the Colts less than 2 years ago just lost Andrew Luck, who was their franchise quarterback, and the way that organization has done turning this team around, they deserve a lot of credit. So I'm going to take the Colts to beat the Packers on Sunday. I really like the brand of football they've been playing with as of late. How about the Sunday night football game, the Chiefs and the Raiders? And the Raiders defense has been playing much better as of late. I get it. But over the last 3 games, it's a sluggish attack over the same side, which is not a promising trade-off this week. COVID-19 protocols for both teams complicate who I'm going to take to win this game, but the Chiefs do look like the defending champions who plays their best when they need to, and the Chiefs are going to need to avoid in this game getting swept by the Raiders. I'll say this. I don't think the Raiders are winning this game, but if they do, I think it's really going to send a message to the rest of not only the AFC West, not only the AFC, but really the rest of the NFL that the Raiders could be a Super Bowl contender if they win this game. And to be honest, I don't know how good their defense is. I understand they barely beat the Chargers, but at the same time, Derek Carr is playing really good football. Josh Jacobs could run the ball, and I think we should all expect at this point in the season for the Raiders to be able to run the ball and score. So I'm going to take the Chiefs, but I do think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I do think the Raiders are a playoff team. I just think right now the Chiefs are too good. How about Monday Night Football, the Bucs and the Rams? And this is a great Monday night game, but it could be more of a defensive showcase than you may expect with the Rams' defense and how well they've been playing as of late. Aaron Donald could possibly make life very difficult for Tom Brady, but The Bucs' style of defense, I don't think bodes well for Jared Goff, especially with Andrew Whitworth out. So the superior running game may just determine who wins the game, and I like Darrell Henderson, but Ronald Jones has the better matchup here. He's been running the ball really well as of late, and I'm going to take the Buccaneers to bounce back in primetime and get a victory. They really have not been a good primetime team so far this season, losing to Chicago and 2 weeks ago on Sunday Night Football to the New Orleans Saints. So I'm going to take Tampa Bay to win. If the Rams win, though, I think they're making a statement that they are the best team in the NFC by a lot. And as good as the Rams are, I just think all of these teams in the NFC are very close. It will come down to the playoffs, which team makes the less mistakes. So I will have the Bucs over the Rams. And to recap my picks one more time, I will have the Seahawks over the Cardinals, the Bengals over the Washington football team, the Saints over the Falcons, the Steelers over the Jags, the Patriots over the Texans, the Eagles over the Browns, the Panthers over the Lions, the Ravens over the Titans, the Chargers over the Jets, the Dolphins over the Broncos, the Vikings over the Cowboys, the Colts over the Packers, the Chiefs over the Raiders, and the Bucs over the Rams.